Installing a FLARM unit is a three-part endeavour. Part 1 is the actual physical installation, Part 2 is the configuration, and Part 3 is the registration. Once you have your new unit mounted and wired in, it must be configured. But before we dive into how to do the configuration registration, first let me explain to you why we do it. Every single FLARM unit has its own individual radio ID, and out of the box they broadcast that radio ID for the world to hear. Other FLARM units and ground stations can then see that ID. When you register your FLARM, all you're doing is you're adding a bit of data to a database saying this specific radio ID that you're seeing is related to this specific glider. So then when other FLARMs and ground stations see the ID, they can look at the database, cross-reference it, figure out which glider is involved in this, and display the correct information, whether that's your G-reg or your competition number. But without that database and without that entry, they have no idea who this FLARM belongs to. All nice and simple, but there are a couple of gotchas. First, it's that radio ID. It's possible, and in fact recommended, to change it. You would change it from the specific radio ID of this FLARM unit to the specific ICAO address of your aircraft. And if you make that change after doing the registration, then you're broadcasting a completely different signal to what you said you were going to do, so it's not going to work. This is why we do the configuration first. Then is the issue of OGN and Flarmnet being separate entities with completely separate databases, and they don't talk to each other. OGN manages how you show up on tracking websites, and Flarmnet manages how you show up on FLARM displays. Finally, it's an issue of updates. Tracking websites, by their very nature, are online and they're connected to the OGN database and they can update on a regular basis. It can take a few minutes for your registration to show up on a tracking website. Flarmnet, on the other hand, relies on the user to update the display, and there's a new Flarmnet file released every single day, but most people only update the FLARM display a handful of times a season. That means that if you do the registration on Flarmnet and somebody's complaining that they can't see you, chances are the issue is with their device not being updated and not your device not being registered. FLARM has been around for a very long time now and has been used in everything from helicopters to drones, which is why it's important to configure it to let it know what aircraft it's in, and therefore how the proximity algorithms should work. Configuration is also where you set things like baud rates, or set up your FLARM to coexist with transponder and avoid a screaming match between them every single time you get airborne. By the way, while you're doing the configuration is also when we recommend you should do the update, and we have a video on updating of FLARM linked below. All devices, new and old, require a config file which can be generated in the exact same way regardless of make and model, which is the method we're going to show you in this guide. Newer devices like this PowerMouse Plus simply give you a more convenient method of generating that file and uploading it to the device. This PowerMouse, for example, has Wi-Fi, which means you can just connect to it using your phone and fill in the form, no file transfer required. Anyway, you will need a config file, and handily FLARM, the company, has created a tool for generating them. All you need to do is fill in this form. It'll also be linked in the description below. I want to draw your attention to a few bits on this form. First, the manufacturer section. Now, if your device is not a PowerFLARM device, then it doesn't matter what it says on the tin, you select FLARM technology as the manufacturer. It's only when you get into the modern PowerFLARM devices where it actually matters who made it and the exact type. Now, below that you can see this tool also allows you to upload an RGC file to copy the existing configuration. So this is quite useful if you want to change one parameter, or you're using non-standard baud rates to communicate to other devices, particularly if you don't remember what those baud rates are. Now, I personally never use this feature, and we are pretending that we're doing a new setup here, so ignore it and move on. Now, this is the section where we see the most common mistakes, the ICAO address. This box allows you to change the radio ID of your FLARM into the ICAO address of your specific aircraft, and we recommend you do this for several reasons. First, it's a bit of future-proofing. If you ever install an ADSB out device into your aircraft, you have to have this configured, otherwise you're going to be chased around the sky by a ghost of yourself, potentially triggering proximity and collision warnings. Secondly, it's less complexity. Your aircraft ID is never going to change, while every single FLARM unit has their own unique radio ID. So if you ever have to swap out your FLARM unit, whether that's because you're upgrading or because you're using a lone unit while yours is being repaired, all you have to do is configure the replacement device with your ICAO address, and everything else is going to work exactly the same as before. If you don't know what your ICAO address is, then in the UK we have G-Info on the CAA website, where you find it using just your G-Reg. Other countries have other registers. For example, Americans have the FAA inquiry. Moving on, if you enable advanced mode, you get a few more options for controlling what the ports on your FLARM do. Now, this is vital for very specific use cases, but for most scenarios, just setting the baud rate is sufficient. The default setting is 19200, but since 2025, we've seen some brand new devices shipped configured to use 57600. In layman's terms, the bigger the number, the better, but for the most compatibility of the devices, you want 19200. That's the default, so go with that and change it if you need to. Scrolling further down and into the logging interval. So some FLARM devices like this PowerMouse Plus are also IGC approved loggers. For use in competition, the logging interval is important. Some competitions define what the minimum interval allowed is, and it's one of those settings that's worth checking before a competition because it's a really easy way to lose admin points. Now, I like my intervals very short, so I recommend using 1 second because it makes it less likely that you're going to not log a turn point if you're turning really tight and just skimming the zone. And finally, stealth mode and no track. Stealth mode hides you from your competitors unless you are in really close proximity, and even then it's going to hide certain data about you. So for example, your ID is going to be hidden and your climb rate is going to be hidden. No track makes you disappear off tracking websites like Glide and Seek. The rest of the form is pretty self-explanatory, and once you fill it in, you click Create Configuration File, and then the file will automatically download. Like with firmware updates, you need to get that file onto your device, and that's usually either with an SD card or a USB stick, and the procedure is also the same as an update. So you shut down the device, you plug in your file, and then you turn on the device and let it do its thing. If you are doing an update at the same time, do them separately. So either do the configuration first and then the update, or do the update and then the configuration. Now that your device is configured, we can now look at registering, and we're going to do Flarmnet registration first. So first you need to go to flarmnet.org, and there's going to be a link down in the description below as well. Click contribute, and then you'll be prompted to either log in or create an account. This is all fairly standard. You have to give them an email address and then set a password, go to your email, check your spam if you can't see the email, and confirm the account, which will allow you to get into this form. And just like the configuration file, you simply fill this form in. Now, radio address type is important to get right. If you follow our advice, you need to change that to ICAO address. And if you want to use a default factory ID of your FLARM, then you leave it as FLARM. And after you do this, your details will be included in the next Flarmnet database release. Registering on OGN, to me, is a lot more important because many people only fly with basic FLARM displays like this LXNav LED, and so they're not going to see your G-Reg anyway. Being seen on OGN, however, means that people on the ground know where you are, so if you get into really serious trouble, they know where to look for you. It's also useful for retrieve crews to know when to hitch up the trailer, and it's quite fun to follow along if someone's doing something adventurous. Now, you may have already guessed, but in order to register on OGN, you have to fill in a form, and this one you will find on ddb.glidernet.org, which is linked below. Like with Flarmnet, you need to register, and then you can log into this dashboard where you can manage any devices you register. Click Add Device and fill in the form. And same as with Flarmnet, make sure you select the correct address type, so ICAO address or FLARM for radio ID. Then you fill in the form and click Submit. Then you have to give it about 20 to 30 minutes for your FLARM to appear on tracking websites with the identity information you provided. And congratulations, your FLARM is now configured and registered with both Flarmnet and OGN. Now, if you've done all this and you're still not showing up on any of the tracking websites, then you might not be in range of a ground station. You need to be in range of one for OGN to see you and display your details. If you can see something but it's gibberish, then you might need to wait a little bit longer. Sometimes it takes a day for the registration to come through, and if after a couple of days it's still gibberish, then something's gone wrong with either the registration or the configuration. So make sure your FLARM is putting out the correct ID, and make sure that your OGN registration has the correct ID as well, and then everything should work. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. It all helps the algorithm know that we're doing good stuff and helps us make more videos like this. And check out our video on updating your FLARM if that's something you haven't done this year yet.